Sometimes what I do is I listen to my own videos to see if the presentation feels good, which is essentially all the energy that represents the information that's being imparted. If it doesn't feel right, because it's like observing myself, okay, as if you're in the audience, right, and how it would be perceived or received. If it's not with enough, how do I put it, the art of communication, right, which is what's key, which is why I normally work with children. I don't normally work with adults, even though I do now. But it takes an enormous amount of patience to work with people that are what I call fully programmed units. Because with me, even though I get criticized by a lot of other spiritual warriors, teachers, if you will, as if they'll tell me that you're wasting your energy on these beings. You keep wasting your energy, and your energy could be better used with those that are, as she would put it to me, that are salvageable. Now, you sort of have to understand, if you know who I am, and the girl on the planet, if anybody knows my heart, it's Gaia. Okay? I can't do that. Okay? I have too much love in my heart to leave anybody on a spiritual battlefield. I'd rather leave me as the last one than anybody else. And most people won't understand that, except for Patty Broussard. Because she's willing to do something like that. That's how much love she has in her heart. That's how we measure who we are. Okay? So what I will say to everybody on this planet is that there are different levels of empathy. They're not all the same. I didn't realize that till I went to the big on in this particular timeline life cycle that I'm on. Was when I realized I couldn't even walk through a clover field of grass without crying because I was walking on something that is living. Because you don't want to touch it. You don't want to do any harm to anything that is alive and aware of itself. Okay, like the little bug I told you about, swatting a bug. How could I ever possibly be comfortable in a place walking around like that? I'd have to go sit out on a beach and just sit there and not move. So that's another measurement, isn't it? And that's sort of how I measure me in my own evolution of what I learned and the relationship that my soul has with everything else that is held within all that life. Okay? So you know it burns with an enormous amount of fire. And obviously phosphorus is what ignited one time that I explained on the Gnostic Warrior, the experience that I had in 2016. I didn't go into that much detail in the past explaining what happened, but I had an orgasm that shot some sperm about 12 feet and hit a wall, okay, because of, there are really no words to describe this, but when you realize that you want all of your fire, all the fire that you have that goes to the source from which it all comes, which is a female creator, okay, that you want to be held captive by her forever, okay, and you're willing to give all your fire to her so that you know that you are permanently bonded with your soul, which would be similar to asking yourself, this is where fear and love truly meet their match, okay? Because imagine if you ever saw the old movie, I used to love Jason and the Argonauts. And I believe it was In Search of the Golden Fleece. And you could see where Jason was on a ship and they were going through the Aegean Sea where Greece is, right? And they had heard in their memory about a place where, I can't remember the exact name, but it was like the songs of a goddess, right? This is when they get into all the Medusa stuff, Pandora's box and all that, right? Where if you went through this particular area and you heard those voices would be so hypnotic that your mind would become trapped into her world and you couldn't get out. Well, you can translate that sort of the way that Bill Gates would inject an operating system into your DNA, and the next thing you know is somebody with a keyboard is running you and it's got total control over your experiences. So how would you feel if you knew that you were going to lock your soul far, okay, into a goddess, for example? Do you trust Sophia that much that you were willing to allow your soul to be permanently and forever bonded with that because you trust her that much? Of course, absolutely. Take all my fire. It's yours. Bang! And at that moment, when I had that experience in my mind, body, and soul, the tips of my toes on both my feet lit up. And I thought I was plugged into a big-ass transformer because my body began vibrating at a rate of speed that I thought, man, this avatar is out of control. Now, normally I have the ability to sort of tune myself, right, to maintain my peace. I didn't have any control over this. It was like my body was, and it came up, and when it hit the bottom of my spine, okay, it was like being on a launch pad with a Saturn V rocket. I'd rather you use a different name of a planet, right? How about a red giant? And then it shot all the way up the back of my skull here. And by the time it got to the top of my head, I thought that the amount of energy vibration was so intense that I believed, in terms of pressure, that my skull cap would just be obliterated, completely obliterated in a gazillion pieces. But instead, it was a release of all that energy. And then what happened is my entire timeline, going all the way back to the beginning, just went. And I realized, wow, I wrote my own timeline. Wow. So I thought to myself, wow, that's a circle of life. We're back to 0 point. Now what? Okay, I get it. And then you realize that all that information was uploaded. Okay. So that's your record. That's how I call it, punching your ticket in, punching in your time card. Just punch your timeline. Okay, so I thought to myself, well, how many times have I done this? So then you go, okay, what is the next ladder? Okay, where are you headed from here? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do next? Okay, so I thought, well, since the planet's being liberated, let's go hang out in Hawaii. I need to get all the junk out of me. Right? Because I was in Reno, Nevada, where that place was getting hammered with their tech. So I jumped on an airplane, right? And I went to the Big Island. She cleaned me up. Oh, man. Broadcasting some purple light out on the east side. And then I went to the Hamakua Coast over to Lapahoihoi, man, which is a heavenly place. And there was a time when I was on that beach when I got a visit, and I had I just laid out a lot of my feelings. And that was a point when I began vibrating again, and I realized I was leaving my avatar, and I was going up. And I thought, no, it's not time to do that. Slow it down. That's when I met Nisha Falme. I put all that on the record, why I was with her over on the island of Oahu. She was a girl who got horribly sexually, physically, and emotionally abused from the time she was, I think, 2 or 3 years of age by her uncle. She was O negative, okay? And she grabbed me and wanted me to be her spirit guide. And so it's a matter of cleaning your file cabinet, girl, right? Okay, you got to get rid of all the stuff. So that means you got to heal, and I got to heal your heart. So we know how to do that, okay? And so